The baby monitor had been showing the same thing for 3 weeks. A dog sitting beside a crib at 2 a.m., not moving, not sleeping, just watching. Her parents thought he was confused. They had no idea what he was watching for. Max was a 4-year-old mixed breed, part German Shepherd, part something larger, black and tan, 75 pounds. He had lived with the Sorensen family since before Clara was born. He had learned, in the way that family dogs learn, which spaces were his and which were not. And the nursery had been established early as a supervised access-only room. Max respected this. He slept in the hallway outside, but the monitor footage from the past 22 nights, which Helena Sorensen had been watching in fragments on her phone at 3 a.m. during feedings, showed Max not in the hallway. Max inside the nursery. Max sitting at the rail of Clara's crib at 2 a.m. with a stillness she had never seen in him while he was awake. Her husband, Peter, watched the footage with her on a Sunday and said, "The nursery door had a lever handle. Max had, approximately 8 months ago, accidentally triggered it while jumping for a toy. After that, they had started closing it with a magnetic latch. The magnetic latch, Helena now realized, had not been properly latching for at least 3 weeks. Max had been letting himself in every night at approximately 2 a.m, sitting beside the crib until approximately 4, and letting himself back out. He was not doing anything at the crib. That was the thing that Helena kept returning to. He was not pawing at it, not whining, not in any state of distress. He was just sitting. The quality of his attention in those 2-hour windows was the same quality she had seen in him when he watched a rabbit from a window. Absolute focus. No movement, reading something. She fixed the latch on a Monday. Max scratched at the nursery door that night for 45 minutes. She opened it. He went directly to the crib. He sat in his spot. She stood in the doorway for a moment, watching a dog perform a task she did not understand, and then she left the door open and went back to bed. On the 25th night, he did not go to the crib. He went to her bedroom door instead and scratched until she woke up. She followed him. She followed him to the nursery where Clara was in the crib, 7 months old, not crying, not in distress, the wrong kind of silence, the absence of the small, restless sounds Clara made in her sleep. Helena turned on the light. Clara's color was off, a grayness at the lips, around the mouth. She picked Clara up, and her body was warmer than it should have been, and in the wrong way, the fever warm that was distributed not in the skin but in the core. And Helena's training, she was a registered nurse, 12 years in pediatric care, snapped into place before she was fully conscious of it. She called 911 before she called Peter. If you stay for stories about what animals sense before we do, you are in the right place. Subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Clara had sepsis, early-stage bacterial sepsis from an ear infection that had not been identified at the 7-month checkup 4 days prior. The infection had been present but asymptomatic enough that the standard examination had missed it. By 2 a.m. of night 25, Clara's temperature was rising. Her inflammatory markers were shifting, and she was moving toward the threshold where sepsis in an infant becomes dangerous faster than a parent can intervene. The pediatric ICU physician, Dr. Namdi Eze, told Helena at 6 a.m, "You got her here in the window." She looked at him and said, "The dog got her here." He asked what she meant. She explained. He was quiet for a moment and then said, "I've heard these stories before. I still don't fully know what to do with them." The infection specialist, Dr. Thandi Molefe, explained the mechanism later. Bacterial sepsis in infants produces a measurable change in body temperature, breath chemistry, and skin volatiles in the hours before visible symptoms appear. These changes are undetectable to humans. They are detectable to dogs, who have been co-evolving with humans long enough to have developed a specific sensitivity to the chemical signatures of illness in family members. Max had been detecting it. For 3 weeks, Clara's chemistry had been building toward this night. And Max had been sitting beside her crib monitoring a process that no thermometer in that house had yet registered. On night 25, something crossed the threshold he was measuring. And instead of sitting beside the crib, he went to get Helena. Has your dog ever watched your baby in a way that made you uneasy, even when everything looked fine? Tell us in the comments. These stories deserve to be heard. Clara came home 4 days later, fully recovered. She is now 2 years old. The nursery latch has not been fixed. Max has his spot. Every night he goes in, checks the crib, and lies down beside it. Helena watches him on the monitor sometimes. That 75 pounds of stillness in the dark beside her daughter's crib, reading the air, monitoring the chemistry of the small sleeping person he has assigned himself to protect. She has stopped asking herself whether dogs know things we don't. Every guardian deserves to be recognized, even the ones who never ask for anything in return. If stories like this matter to you, subscribe so you never miss the next one. The next story involves a dog whose behavior changed the day a family moved into a new house, and what had been left behind in that house before they arrived.